One of my cousins married someone who is pretty religious, but like not Roman Catholic. And that's an experience because what I know best is Roman Catholicism. She is some sort of like, I don't know how to describe it, normal white person Christian. It's not Baptist though. It's is it Methodist? I don't know what it is. She wants to get her babies baptized. Now, here's what I think a baptism is. When I close my eyes and visualize, okay? I imagine a Roman Catholic priest in the most gilded, grandiose robes, holding a baby awkwardly. The man is probably like in his 80s, holding them above a giant basin of water and pouring a little on the baby's head, just shouting shit in Latin. There are candles lit everywhere. The whole room is gilded, red velvet all over the place. It looks super expensive. It's this very like auspicious moment, and everyone's like, oh my God, this is it. They treat it like the crowning of the queen, okay? It's like a coronation. This lady who my cousin marries, we get invited to a beach. So without even going, I was like, huh, okay, a beach. We show up and there's a priest, and I couldn't tell he was the priest because he was dressed just like everyone else. And he didn't even have the little, what's its name, on the neck instead of the tie. Cannot remember the name of it, the little square. He didn't have the little thingy. He was just chilling. He just at some point pulls out a book and I'm like, oh, guy with the book must be the priest. He's about to like read something. Now, I am used to someone standing there opening a book. It's the old priest, and he'll read out something that is half in Latin or Italian and then goes, right? And everyone's like, ah, yes. And it's very, again, super like formal religious. This guy pulls out a book and it's Tom Sawyer. And he reads a passage from it. And then he goes, we wish for this baby's life to be adventurous. That's the first thing he says. I was like, what is going on? Is this religious or like what? Because it was nice. I was like, that's a nice passage, but like what is happening? And then just like talks about how it relates to your life. And he throws a little bit of stuff about faith in there as well. But for the most part, he's just like talking about like nice stuff that they hope for the kid's life. And I was like, what is happening? I was so confused. And it wasn't even bad. I was just like, okay, all right. And then they're like, now for the baptism, let's all walk together. Now, mind you, everyone's chilling. Like this is beach day. And then he's like, all right, it's time for the baptism. We will now go down to the water. So we all walk down to the water a little bit. Dude pulls out a giant empty half seashell. Like looks like a big half clamshell. Picks up some seawater in it. And I was like, no, not on a baby. No. Picks up some seawater, holds the baby, tilts it back a little so the water will pour off the forehead away from the eyes, you know, and baptizes the kid in the ocean. I was like, what? It wasn't holy water. Right. See, one person's immediately like, that's not holy water. I was like, what? They bless the baby and then they're like, yay. And then they take pictures for a fucking half hour. This is some white people shit. I don't understand this. I was so confused, dude. I was like, what is going on? I still to this day did not understand. I remember when we all went to eat, a bunch of like the, you know, my closer family, we're all sitting next to each other. A lot of those people are a bit more Roman Catholic. My grandmother, who's very, very Roman Catholic. And she turns to me and she goes, have you ever seen a priest try to bless the ocean? What the hell is that? She said, who does he think he is blessing seawater? It's like, Grandma, stop. And I said to her, I was like, Grandma, you know I'm not very religious. She was like, yeah, you were always like that. And she didn't say that in a mean way. She was just like, yeah. And I was like, but even I don't know what this like newfangled thing is. And I was sitting there with my like ultra Catholic grandmother, and me, person with no faith in their body, sitting there going, how could this be? I felt very judgmental in that moment, but I felt warranted. It felt completely warranted because I looked around at the family members from my cousin's wife. Okay, so her, the woman who wanted this beach ceremony and everything, and her family. I looked around at them and I turned to my grandmother and I say, you notice how they're all dressed the same? They were all wearing a dress that looked like 90% accurate to the other person's dress next to them. They looked exactly the same. The men, the same color shirts, all within the same range of color and the same cut and everything. They all had the same haircuts. All the women's haircuts were incredibly similar. All of them dyed their hair approximately the same color. I was like, what is happening? Me and my grandmother spent that whole dinner looking around. When we would notice something that they all did, we'd point it out. She'd be like, look, they're all wearing similar cufflinks. I've never seen this many people wear cufflinks. I was like, it was so funny because my grandma, she pointed out, I've never seen this many people in a room all wearing cufflinks. And I was like, you're right. And it was only them. It was only them from the other side of the family. And at some point, she and I started laughing because We knew we were just being facetious. Like we were just, pointing out whatever the fuck. She was like laughing at me. She was like, do you see they all ate the same entree? I was like, stop. She was like, they all ordered the same entree. Like, shut up. It was funny, man. We did realize like they were all from the same little town, and like all of their families would buy houses in the same town. Like their family was just super close. They were just super close. They didn't do anything else that actually made us think they were like legitimately like a cult or anything, but there were just too many similarities. And I was like, they're just too insular. Like none of these people ever want to move out of this town. None of these people want to do anything else. She married my cousin, and she was like very down to live near where he worked. And then she was like, I think like 6 months into them having whatever their first house was together, that they kind of like, they did the very traditional like buy a house that you move into right when you get married, the kind of thing. She was like, it's been a while. Now that we're having a baby, it'd be really nice to move near my parents. And he was like, that's an hour and a half from where I work. My cousin was like, no, we're not doing that. She was like, yeah, but think of how nice it'd be to raise the kids near the family. And he was like, my family's here. They have family. like I get what you're saying, but they're not even far enough that we can't like visit every weekend. So why'd we need to live there? There's just a lot of stuff where we were like, But the thing is, literally every member of her family convinced their spouses to move back there with them. So because that many of them did that, that's why we were like, And when we first noticed things, I was like, maybe I'm just being weird because of the way I was raised, and this is different. So I just won't say anything because I don't want to be the weird one. And then as time passed, I was like, it's getting weirder. The move-in thing, like trying to get them to move there, that was before the kid was born, though. That was like one of the first things she did where people were like, what's that about? But then that's been the biggest source of drama in my family, is actually that woman, because so this cousin of mine, he has a lot of older sisters, and they don't like his wife. They don't like her. Apparently, this was the big drama. This was the big drama that kicked it all off. And it sounds like such a not big story, but it ended up being huge. My cousin, he is with his wife and their baby. Or no, sorry, she was pregnant at the time. She was pregnant, not quite had the baby yet. Close though. They're out and about. They're going bowling. They go bowling with his older sisters and their husbands and their families. They all have kids. Okay? A lot of these are the kids that I've helped raise, and they're taken care of, whatever. They all go bowling together. My oldest cousin, out of that set of cousins, the oldest sister, her kids at the time are, I think, 9 and 6. You can have full conversations with them, having fun, whatever, but they're not screaming. They're bowling. When they get a hit of any kind, they're like, yes, I got pins, right? Kids are exclaiming, yes, yay. My cousin's wife, she's sitting there, and she starts accusing them of being too loud. Now, one of my cousins, the second sister down, who she also had her kids there, but they were a bit younger, and they were just chilling. They weren't really bowling much. They were just hanging out eating. She shows me a video. She was like, I have video evidence. You don't understand. I have video evidence. So she shows me on her phone a video of them celebrating after getting a strike. They get a strike and they go, yes, look, Mom, I got a strike. They're not even yelling. They're not yelling. They're just like, oh my God, look. And there's so much other sound around that is louder than them. They're really controlling themselves. They're not being loud. You know what I mean? Because I said to, my cousin, the second sister down, I was like, well, what if they were being loud? Because, they're kids. And she was like, oh, trust, look, I have video. They were like this the whole time. And they were just celebrating like kids do. And a little yeah isn't like a screech, right? But she's like, and in the video, she turns and you see my male cousin, right, who's married to this woman, him going, good job, buddy, right? She's sitting next to him. Her arms are crossed, and then she takes her arms and uncrosses them and puts her hands on her ears as if to block out the sound, when those kids barely yelled. Barely. So I get shown this video evidence, right? And so my cousin's like, this is what this woman was complaining about. She was saying that they were yelling and that we can't control our kids because they were celebrating a win while bowling. And I look at that and I was like, that's really fucking weird. Right? Sometimes someone does a little thing, but just with the context, you're like, that's so weird. No normal person does that, right? So my first thought was, of course, the worst thing. I was like, what if she's trying to act up and separate in people's minds, people by behavior, maybe try to get her husband to be like, oh, yeah, you were bothering my wife, or drive a wedge, right? You know what I mean? That was my first thought. I was like, let's assume she's crazy. It could be that. And then I also posited, but she could also just be sensitive because she's pregnant, right? Like she could just have been pregnant and been like, my ears. So it could be either, who knows? Like, this is not enough to like be like, oh, this person's terrible off of, right? So I said that to my cousin. I was like, it could be both, but just like, wait and see kind of thing. So my cousin was like, I think she's crazy. And I was like, okay, while I'm saying it's possible, she's very pregnant. So she could just, her senses could be fucked, who knows? And she was like, okay, we'll see. Time passes. They have the baby. Everything's fine for a little bit. Now, my cousin and his wife have pets that they love very much. Both of them love very much. At some point, she's like, I don't want to have the dog around the baby. What if it causes an issue? Now, they have one of the best trained dogs I've ever met in my life. It is a border collie, but they have a big yard, has a lot of space to run around, and it is a smart dog and is very sweet and is very well trained. She's like, I think we have to get rid of the dog. Now, guys, I'm a bit judgmental when it comes to animal stuff. Whenever anyone has a salvageable situation with an animal and wants to get rid of a pet, I am immediately like, no, something's wrong here. I don't trust people that do that. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. I do not understand. I cannot imagine having a pet and giving it up unless there's a reason why you literally cannot have it. Now, if the dog had aggression issues that you were working through, I could understand that, right? But that's, a behaved, trained dog who was very sweet. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know about that. That's a little weird. And rehome it with another one of your family members for a while and then try to take it back later or something. Not just like, oh, let's just give it to, back to the breeder or back to a shelter or something. Like, that's crazy, right? So I was like, I don't know. It could have been new mom hypersensitive fear, right? Some women get postpartum depression and it makes them make weird decisions. So of course, in my mind, I'm like, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt though, because this could be that. It could just be that. And it, postpartum depression in a lot of women manifests in weird ways. So her being like, maybe it's the dog, something pushing things that she likes away, like that could be that, So I was like, okay, maybe this is a second weird thing, but again, it could be postpartum hormones and all that. Who knows? So I give her the benefit of the doubt. And of course, my cousins, his older sisters, are like, no, she's crazy. She's terrible. I was like, all right, well, we'll see. She gets over it. It's like 2 years later. The kid's like 2, at this point. And she's beyond any of that stuff. Things are fine. They ended up not getting rid of the dog. Obviously, my cousin was like, fuck no. Hell no. We just won't let the dog in the baby's room while sleeping or something, or whatever makes you comfortable, right? And so they're all fine. We go to, it's someone's birthday. There's some dinner at someone's house. We go and we sit there and we're eating. Now, I had never heard of her having any dietary restrictions or hating meat or anything like that. This is something that no one knew about her because she had never said anything, and this was never a problem before. She would go and eat everything that was put in front of her, and it was never a problem. My uncle, so my cousin's dad, the grandfather of their kid, right, is grilling on the grill, meat as you do, right? He's got a sausage on the grill. He stabs it. And he's like, get a bun, get some bread or something. Who wants this sausage, right? Who wants this sausage? He's yelling it because he's loud. His voice sounds like this. Who wants the sausage? That's exactly what he sounds like. I just got it off the grill. Who wants it? He literally sounds like that. I'm not even joking, just lower. He's got it stabbed on the two-pronged fork, whatever. And my cousin, male cousin, married to the woman. My cousin raises his hand. He's like, yeah, I got that one. He goes, get a bun. My cousin gets a bun. As he's placing the sausage into the bun, my cousin holds down on it and my uncle pulls the two-pronged thingy poker out of it, right? His wife goes, ugh. Just from 10 feet away, just goes, ugh, while watching. And my cousin goes, what? And she's like, you just, I don't know. It's just the meat. And he's like, what? She's like, it just looks disgusting. And he's like, it's a sausage. What do you mean? And this has never been a problem. We have had this scenario happen before where she's seen people take a sausage off the grill and eat it. It has never been an issue before. Just looks disgusting. And I look at her and she looks really uncomfortable, genuinely. But she looks way more uncomfortable than anyone ever should in this scenario. And the sausage looked fine. I was looking at it. There was nothing wrong with it. Like, she just looked so genuinely distressed. And I was like, what? Why is she so distressed? Was it greasy? Not really. It was pretty normal. So my cousin is like, are you good? Like, he says, like, are you okay? Like, And she was like, I don't know, something about the idea of just all the ground meat. I don't know how you eat that stuff. And at some point she like gets up and goes somewhere else, like, oh, let me deal with my kid, whatever. And he's sitting next to me and I was like, did she always have a problem with that and we just didn't know? And he goes, no, we eat stuff like this all the time. This is literally out of nowhere. I was like, what? right? Like, it's one of those things where, like, if this were a problem with her all along, we'd be like, oh yeah, she hates like the idea of ground meat freaks her out or something, right? Like, then it would be like, okay, not like still weird, but I don't know. But it came out of nowhere, and she never had a problem with it before. So we're like, what is going on? It was like the craziest mood swing we'd ever seen. So I look at him and I'm like, I just say, if you need help, please tell me. I was like, and if she needs help, like this, we can do something. Like, we can do something here. And he was just like, yeah, maybe things are weirder than I thought. And I was like, you live with her. like yeah, which, you know, you would think, oh yeah, you notice these things, but at the same time, when you live with someone, maybe you don't, because if it's a slow descent, you don't realize until it's already like at that point, right? And then at some point you look around, you go, oh my God, wait, and it starts to add up, right? So I was like, okay. Little odd. So then a lot of time passes, many years later. And, you know, I hear about them having various issues, whatever, but like things seem to be working out a little better. She doesn't really do any weird shit. She seems normal. I just feel like she always has crazy eyes, you know? One of those women where when she talks, you can see the whites of her eyes all around the iris. Like the top lid is like, she's like this all the time. Like without raising her eyebrows, she's always like this. Like, hey, how you doing? I don't know. The crazy eyes, man. That was it. That was the only thing weird, though, since then. Many years pass. I started having my medical issue. And I was like, hey, I just start telling family members about some things going on. And I tell him in particular because I'm just closer with him. So he's one of the few that I like told fully about everything. So I like let him know on the phone, like everything that was going on. And he goes, yeah, you can always come over if you want and stay here. So you're not like alone or anything. Like you're always welcome to come over. I've got my room. I've got a couple extra rooms, whatever. And I was like, a couple extra rooms. And he was like, oh yeah, I have my own house. I was like, where are you living with your wife? And he was like, nah, she wanted to move back there. So I just let her. I was like, oh, I didn't even know. I had no clue. And we're close. He was like, oh yeah, I didn't tell anyone because they'd get weird about it. I was like, you know what? You're right. They would. Absolutely weird. He's like, yeah. So I, on work days, sleep here. And then like on weekends, I go back over there because I don't want to make the trek. And, you know, he's like, a lot of weekdays I'll still go there to see my kids, but, you know. And I was like, oh my God. So the moral here that I want you to all take home is if you meet some girl or guy and everyone in their family looks exactly the same, like scarily similar, don't just write it off. Okay? Look around. If everything about their family is crazy insular, if they're bothered by weird shit that they shouldn't be bothered by, yeah, run.